This is gross, but you can look it up, girl. They be taking alcohol up they so that they don't even have to wait for it to metabolize through their digestive system. Because if they take it up, just go straight into their bloodstream.
Anti-Afro Bengalis. I had to come on here. I mean, there are so many things that Stank Booty Bigot says that are nonsensical. But when this fool gets on the Umar Johnson kick, it's time to speak up. Umar Johnson is known for disseminating information that's not only incorrect, it can be potentially lethal if somebody should happen to listen. Really listen, take seriously, and act upon what he says. It's no different than what this idiot is trying to put out and acting like she knows what the hell she's talking about, just like Umar Johnson. Let me let you hear the rest of this madness, and I'll come back and set things straight.
Alcohol addiction is the only, listen to this, girl. Alcohol addiction is one of the only addictions where you could literally die just from the withdrawals. Like, if you try to quit heroin cold turkey, it'll be painful, but you won't die. But if you try to quit alcohol cold turkey, you can literally die just from the withdrawals.
How you convey information means everything, especially when you're talking about a situation that is so serious. First off, alcohol is not the only substance that people have for the longest introduced into their system through their rectal cavity. So what is this new information she's supposed to be giving? No. What's happening, she's trying to attach it to someone who she's talking shit about in the B sector, making all these assumptions and assertions. And I'm not going to name the person. So alcohol is not the only substance that people have for the longest time introduced by their rectal cavity. Maybe it is something this idiot just learned, but acting like she's doing so with this authority, with knowledge, and then separating alcohol out by saying it's one of the only, that doesn't make sense. One of the only substances that withdrawal alone can cause death, and that's a false statement. Look here on the screen, every single classification in red and white has the serious potential to bring about death during the withdrawal process. It is never going to be specifically because of withdrawal. Now, take a look here on the screen. Some of you may know who Sean Levert is. Look at his cause of death. Xanax is an opioid. That's under the same category as heroin. The same applies to heroin. There can be fatal outcomes associated with withdrawal from heroin, as it applies to every one of these categories in red and white. Where the hell this fool is getting this information? Oh, how soon we forget. She Googled it. She doesn't know how to do any research. Just like she Googled, does American Red Cross provide HIV education, or whatever she said, and try to put that up as debunking Rev G, who provided HIV education. This is some fool who really told the truth about one thing, that she doesn't like school. It shows. God forbid somebody will actually listen. Like, we hope to God this idiot never steps foot in a classroom. Can you imagine standing up in front of a classroom and making statements like this? Leading students to believe that they're safe, that they will not die if they take these other drugs and experience withdrawal symptoms. Now let's go to alcohol again. Alcohol withdrawal is on a very long continuum, miles long, wide, long continuum. So few people are going to experience the most severe form of alcohol withdrawal, which is delirium tremens. That's in the very low single digits. However, you do not say, oh, since it's low single digits, that's not something I'm going to look out for. If you were a provider, whether a medical provider or someone in the mental health field, you are always going to make sure you are assessing people for potential lethal outcomes, whether it's suicide, homicide, risk to health and safety. So you don't discount it, but you also don't dispense misinformation. And this fool is far out of line, far out of her league, should not be running her mouth about shit she doesn't know anything about. But that's the nature, just like it's the nature of Umar Johnson. Look at me. Let me tell you whatever I want to tell you. I don't give a damn what impact it has. And they like to target vulnerable populations. Well, thank God, at least in this context, in these YouTube streets, no one takes this idiot with any degree of seriousness. But she's trying to access our youth again. And kudos to the state of Georgia, one of the first states to put the brakes on these rogue public servant teachers, and I use the term lightly, who go into these classrooms and espouse crap like you just heard and show the students how much they don't like them by attacking their race. They want to be able to have instruction on race relations. They want to be able to instruct the students on every issue regarding protected classes, and they have so many hangups like this fool does. They want to try to poison the mind of the students and make them feel guilty, make them feel they're responsible. They have no business speaking on these issues. Are there teachers out there who are responsible? Yes, but there are far too many in the state of Georgia that act like this idiot, getting up here making these statements. No, you're not going to die just from withdrawals. If you have pre-existing medical conditions, this exacerbates your likelihood of succumbing. It's going to overtake your already compromised system. You don't have a chance. If you have cardiac issues, if you have lung issues, if you're a diabetic, if you have any compromise in your system and you experience withdrawal, that is going to seriously increase your chances of succumbing. It's never going to be just withdrawals. Your body has to respond in a way that results in your heart stopping, in your lungs not functioning, your kidneys shutting down, any vital organs, your brain swelling, all of these things. And this is likely to happen if you have pre-existing medical conditions. Still yet, those at greater risk for the most serious withdrawal when it comes to alcohol have experienced previous situations where they withdrew from alcohol. You still need to monitor people if they have issues with substances and make sure you refer them to the proper treatment providers. You don't sit around spreading misinformation based on shit you don't know anything about. Now, let me talk about when people have dependencies on these substances. If you look at all of these substances in the red and white, which one is going to stand out more readily? Which substance is going to be more easily detectable if you're at your job, for example, and you're dependent? It's going to be alcohol. How many people are going to actually bring alcohol to work and sit it on their desk and nip at it? I'm quite sure there are some people, but they're much more quickly detected on their jobs versus somebody who brings any of these other substances in red and white. Those who need to take the edge off, they'll consume the substance whenever they consume it. They have it like clockwork. I'm going to take this 10 minutes before I leave, or I'm going to take this in the car, or I'm going to take this at this time at work. No one's going to notice. They can go to the bathroom, take these substances in the bathroom. Who's going to notice it? Go in the bathroom stall, sit at your desk. They don't know you could be taking a Tylenol. So they adjust the dose. I need this just to get me through the day. Okay, so towards the end of work, this was a hard day at work. I can't wait till I get in the car. I'm going to get me a little bit more. Or maybe I can wait till I get home because I want to maybe take an hour or two nap. And then when it's time to actually fall asleep, they're going to take more. Is this responsible? No, because they're likely not following their prescriber's instructions. And when you don't follow your prescriber's instructions, there are signs that you're not following your prescriber's instructions. You come onto YouTube and your speech is slurred. You don't even know it. This has happened many times. the fool dispensing this information has come onto YouTube with slurred speech and doesn't even recognize it. Then discloses that, what do you know? She has opiates or opioids at home that she rarely takes. See, that's another lie. And I'm telling you it's a lie. And let me explain why it's a lie. Every state has a monitoring system. In addition to the DEA, every prescriber for these substances that you see in red and white, we're focusing on red and white only at this point, they track how much, to who, how frequently these very dangerous drugs, if used irresponsibly, are prescribed. So it doesn't make any sense to say you have opiates sitting around the house. They're not going to be sitting around because the prescription has to be updated. There's a very specialized, highly controlled process to facilitate prescribing these substances and for the person to pick them up. So if they're just sitting around the house, the prescription is going to expire. You have to continuously get a refill if you're going to have these substances just sitting around the house. Highly controlled substances. So the DEA monitors these systems. Here it is. It's called the Cures in California. They have these prescribers on lockdown. They're in Georgia. They have the same system. The DEA goes to both systems. And this is another way that they get in between these irresponsible prescribers and those who are being subjected to irresponsibility, because unless they go buy these drugs on the street, they can't get them on their own. That's a whole nother issue. Unfortunately, it's become a lot easier to get a hold of these substances on the street than it is buying alcohol in the store. They're everywhere. They're being brought into the country. There's an effort to try to put a dent into this, but we know this has been a problem, especially impacting the Black community for the longest time. And I am not going to forget how this idiot, this Stank Booty Bigot, actually told the world. Yes, Carrie Ann Wilson told the world that the Chinese dude that was living with her got her drugs. Oh yeah, you can get me drugs. He got me drugs. She said it on a live stream. She said he's gotten me drugs and he can get me drugs. This is what she said. These live streams that she used to run her mouth on when she had all that vulgarity, because she changed. She doesn't have as much vulgarity. We have these live streams because they were sent to us for one purpose. Oh, go to this timestamp. This is what this fool said. But now if you listen to more of it, she's saying all kinds of shit on there, including giving the name of her father, Larry. Gave her own last name. So many other things. And she talked about having a pound of marijuana, which is illegal. The drug itself is illegal in the state of Georgia. Runs her mouth like you wouldn't believe. And most of the time, it's to her detriment. But I was not going to let this idiot come on here and make these statements, these very dangerous statements, which could lead someone to believe that they're not at risk for fatal outcomes if they have a dependency on any of these other substances in red and white, and their withdrawal process is not potentially fatal. That is false. Alcohol is not the only substance. Again, for the most extreme form of alcohol withdrawal to come into the mix, there has to be multiple additional factors. People withdraw from alcohol all the time. It's just not the most extreme form of withdrawal. Sometimes people will accept the medication assisted treatment. Others will not. You're not going to die. They can tell whether or not you're at risk for fatality. They're going to take your lab work. They're talking to you. If you are at risk for dying with delirium tremens, you're not going to be saying much at all. You're probably going to be completely out of it by that time. If it's going to that point where you're going to end up potentially succumbing. So this is someone who doesn't know anything about what she's referring to. I want to point to also, if you go down to where it says barbiturates, Some of these drugs, of course, are dual categories. I just wanted to separate some of them out, and particularly the barbiturates. Now, the barbiturates are longer acting. These drugs are so incredibly dangerous. So many people died withdrawing from these drugs that they had to scale back on prescribing them for sedation purposes. They use them for seizures, but they've even stopped producing some of them like quaaludes. So incredibly dangerous. So they brought on the opiates, the opioids, which are less dangerous, but still very dangerous. Here's what I want to make sure I say. These substances, if prescribed responsibly, if used responsibly, can be safe. Re-emphasizing, if you have pre-existing conditions, your chances of succumbing to complications associated with withdrawal are greatly increased. This does not mean if you have no underlying medical issues that you're safe. You still can have severe withdrawal to the point it interrupts your organ functioning. Your organs are going to simply stop working, whichever organs that may be, in whatever order, and you are going to succumb. So if you notice, Gerald Levert was 39 and he didn't succumb with any alcohol related conditions because that's still pretty young for someone to have delirium tremens as they get older in life because they've had enough time to develop such a severe dependency on alcohol. That was not his substance of choice. It was much more intense and much more likely that he was going to succumb to withdrawing from opioids, which is in the same category as heroin, because becoming dependent on opiates in any of these red and white categories is much more quicker than it would be to alcohol because of the access you have to these drugs these days. You don't have the free flowing access to alcohol in that a teenager is not going to be able to walk around in high school with bottles of alcohol and not be able to use alcohol to the extent or to the liberty that he or she could get access to these drugs even on the street. Bottom line, listen to your prescriber's instructions and do not ever purchase, take any medication that is not prescribed to you. You have no idea what in the hell these people out here in these streets are putting in these substances. The main issue here is withdrawal. If you are using these substances responsibly, you're going to your appointments on a regular basis, you're addressing all underlying health issues, the chances of you succumbing to withdrawal related symptoms is going to be extremely low. But let me say this fool here who's getting up here acting like she's an authority even said herself that she's using home remedies. So she's placing herself at risk. She even talked about having bronchitis for all these years. And let me tell you something. If someone has an extended case of bronchitis, it's no longer bronchitis. It's likely emphysema or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, under which bronchitis exists. But if you have bronchitis for years on end and it's unresolved, it's likely no longer bronchitis. Whatever the case, it's lung disease. And this places you at risk for succumbing in the event you have a withdrawal from any of these substances. It's an underlying health issue, like unfortunately Sean Levert experienced. I mean, she shouldn't have any problem. This is this stank booty bigot here that loves to speak on everyone and making an assessment as to a certain someone's alcohol issues. Well, give an opinion. So this is an opinion, but at least this is based on fact. And the fact that she smokes cigarettes. She's on those live streams saying she's still smoking, and you hear the match constantly lighting up. So she has lung disease by her own admission, and she's still smoking. Those are risk factors. But She has the time to sit around and speak on the health issues, the alcohol issues of others. Check out the referrals underneath the title in the video and be damn sure that you do anything other than Google something. Go to these resources. There are many resources that actually give you specific information about these substances and their risk. Fools need to stop putting information out that's incorrect. It's dangerous, it's deadly, it's destructive, especially if you're standing in front of young, impressionable minds. They tend to listen to what adults have to say, and we are hoping this never happens again, that this fool won't ever be able to stand up in front of any youth. That's something we are going to continue to work towards making sure doesn't happen again. Folks, I got more coming your way. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.